It's the engine that's burning inside. We're breaking down the walls in your head, leaving all your doubts for dead. It's time to come alive, Sport Rewired. Come on, Sport Rewired.
Fluid is chaotic. It's 22 people moving with tactical intent. But for one fleeting moment, the game stops. The rhythm stops. And 20 of those people become spectators to an entirely different sport. Welcome to the pilot episode of Sport Rewired. I'm your host, Grant Wyeth. And if you're joining for the first time, welcome. We're doing something different here. I spend my days working as a team leader with insurance, but my deep passion, as I spend my nights studying as a hypnotherapist, is the machinery of the human mind. I look at the cognitive architecture that dictates how we perform under pressure, how we panic, and ultimately, how we can change. And I believe there is no greater theatre for that machinery than the high-stakes world of professional sport. Most commentators and pundits look at a missed penalty or a massive team collapse and talk about bottle, nerves, or lack of character, confidence, or even the buzzword mentality monster. I think that's lazy analysis of mental performance. Today we are dissecting the fascinating psychological battleground of the recent World Cup clash between Argentina and Egypt. We're going to look at why Lionel Messi, arguably the greatest player to ever touch a football, can struggle from the thick spot 12 yards out, and how an Egyptian side that was completely dominating the match at 2-0 collapsed to lose 3-2. My goal with this podcast is to bridge the gap between elite performance and the evidence-based science of the mind. We aren't just winning and watching the game, we're rewiring how we think about it. To understand the sudden shift in the mind that took place in that match, we first have to ground ourselves in what actually happened on the pitch. So let's set the scene. It's the round of 16. Argentina are the heavy favourites, carrying the immense weight of historical expectation. Egypt are the underdogs, playing with the freedom of a team with nothing to lose. And for the first 16 minutes, the underdogs aren't just surviving, they're executing a masterclass in counter-attacking football. In the 15th minute, Egypt strike first. A brilliant set-piece delivery, and Yasser Ibrahim meet it perfectly. 1-0 to Egypt. You can feel the collective gasp in the stadium. Argentina look rattled, but the script isn't fully written yet. Argentina push. They dominate possession. They appear to be playing the better football. But the Egyptian defense block is absolute. Then comes the 67th minute, a devastating counter-attack. Mustafa Zico finds himself in space, catches the keeper off guard, and slots it home. 2-0. At this precise moment, if you pause the tape, Egypt appear to now be in total control. They are playing with fluid confidence. Their pressing is crisp, their positioning is automatic, and their tactical discipline is flawless. Argentina look completely out of ideas. The commentators are already writing the obituaries for Argentina's tournament, and they're already getting carried away with the hype of England's path to the final. But football was a 90-minute plus game, and what happened next wasn't a failure of physical conditioning or tactical planning, it was a complete shift in the collective nervous system of both teams. Within 25 minutes, that 2-0 cushion didn't just shrink, it completely evaporated into a 3-2 defeat. How does that happen to elite athletes? All of them, all at once. To answer that, we first have to look at the transition from the team game to an isolated moment. Let's zoom in on the penalty spot, because here it represents the most jarring psychological mismatch in modern sport, written about in many books, many studies. It's the fundamental problem with the penalty kick. It isn't actually football. Football is a moving, interdependent game. By that I mean it's dynamic. When you play in the flow of a match, you rely on your teammates. You react instantly to a bouncing ball, a defender's challenge, the shifting conditions of the game itself. In those moments, players operate in a state of automaticity. The neural pathways have been paved through thousands and thousands of hours of repetition. In cognitive psychology, we call this System 1 thinking. Fast, intuitive, emotional, fluid. Your brain is firing in perfect sync with the environment. You don't think about how to strike the ball. Your body just executes it. When the referee blows that whistle for a penalty, the rhythm of the match is abruptly silenced. The game shifts from a fast-paced collective team sport to one that's isolated, static. It becomes an individual event. This is just you, a stationary ball, and a goalkeeper. And this is when the analytical mind catches up to you. The player is forced out of intuitive System 1 flow thinking and dragged into System 2, the slow, deliberate, analytical mindset. Just look at Lionel Messi. Remember the game, we're talking about a footballing god to many, the GOAT. He can score with 3 defenders rushing at him and a keeper in his way, because he's reacting in real time. He can dribble for an entire team on pure instinct. But put him 1-to-1 from 12 yards out with a fixed ball, where he has to stand and wait for the whistle, it's a completely different sport. When you engage that slow analytical brain during a moment that requires pure motor execution, you don't just access strategy, you open the floodgates to lived experience. The brain begins to scan its historical library. It accesses the back catalogue of past failures, the immense weight of the global crowd, the looming fear of the media narrative. These aren't just background noises. They are disruptive, self-referential inputs. The internal monologue starts to spiral. What have I missed like I did before? What does this mean for my legacy, for my country? This creates a classic negative feedback loop. The moment you try to consciously force perfection through deliberate thought, you create microscopic tension in the muscles and disrupt the timing of your motor pathways. All the talents in the world cannot bypass the fact that the analytical brain is asking too many questions at the exact moment it needs to be silent. So, if an elite athlete finds themselves trapped in the System 2 analytical spiral, what's the solution? What's the hope for the rest of us? In clinical hypnotherapy, we don't try to fight the negative thoughts directly. Instead, we work on altering the client's internal reality and state management. If I were working with a player facing this exact penalty paradox, we'd focus on 2 direct interventions. First, we would look at how they mentally rehearse. Most athletes practice visualization by simply seeing the outcome. So in this case, seeing the ball hit the back of the net from a third-person perspective, like watching a movie. But the brain doesn't truly engage its neural architecture through sight alone. In hypnotherapy, we would use a process called effective rehearsal. In a state of focused awareness, I would have the player rehearse a successful kick hundreds of times over with complete sensory richness and vivification. They wouldn't just see the ball, see the net. They would feel the exact density of the turf beneath their boots. They would hear the deafening roar of the 90,000 fans in the stadium and intentionally code that sound not as a threat, but as a wave of kinetic energy pushing them forward. They would feel the visible tactile vibration of the leather meeting the sweet spot of their foot and anchor the exact physical sensation of absolute compliance from the ball. The direction of the ball traveling off into the net, the sound of the net rippling. By doing this repeatedly, the nervous system accepts these events as a familiar, safe reality before they ever step onto the grass. Second, we would establish a state reset protocol. When that match rhythm abruptly stops, the player needs to find a way to empty their conscious mind entirely. We do this by building a dedicated post-hypnotic trigger, a conditioned anchor, a resource anchor. It might be a highly specific, deliberate touch of the kit or a precise breathing system. a precise breathing pattern designed to regulate down the sympathetic nervous system. This is all, of course, something that we rebuild over time in pre-match so that they can use during the match. This trigger acts like a clear cache command for the prefrontal cortex to instantly reset their baseline, dropping the heart rate variability back into an optimal zone for performance, silencing the self-referential monologue of past failures, and letting them approach the ball with absolute stillness and clarity of thought. It forces the analytical mind to step aside so their automaticity of thought, their own competence, can take control of the wheel. This brings us back to the team dynamic and the compounding snowball effect that turned Egypt's 2-0 dream into a psychological collapse. When Egypt were leading comfortably, they held what we call an identity of dominance. Their focus was entirely external. They were scanning the pitch for all sorts of tactical opportunities, spaces to exploit, forward runs. But the moment Argentina scored their first goal through Christian Romero in the 79th minute to make it 2-1, the psychological pendulum swung violently against them. Egypt experienced a sudden locus of control shift. Their focus flipped from the external game to their own internal anxieties. They stopped playing to win, and they started playing not to lose. Their identity shifted instantly from dominance to survival. When the human brain enters a survival mindset under extreme pressure, it perceives the situation as an existential threat. The nervous system floods the body with cortisol and adrenaline, moving into a somatic freeze or collapse state. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex tactical decision making, begins to shut down to preserve energy for basic survival mechanisms. As a result, the player's touches become heavier, their passes become safer and more tentative. The spatial awareness becomes contracted. But look at the mirror image on the other side of the pitch. And here's the real pivot. While Egypt were contracting into survival mode, Argentina was suddenly rapidly expanding. This is the sheer power of response expectancy. In hypnotherapy, we know that when an individual or group expects something to happen, this, and evidence suggests, dictates their psychological, physiological, and behavioral response. Argentina didn't just hope to get back into the game. Their collective identity was anchored in the absolute expectancy of victory. When Messi equalised in the 83rd minute to make it 2-2, it triggered a compounding snowball effect. Every successful intercept by Argentina reinforced their dominant idea of impending victory. Every nervous, frantic clearance by Egypt confirmed their subconscious fear of impending doom. It was a beautifully destructive loop to watch. Argentina's psychological ascent catalyzed their technical execution, which further paralyzed the Egyptian nervous system, the Egyptian players, culminating in Enzo Fernandez's clinical error in the 93rd minute. Argentina didn't just win because of a tactical adjustment. They won because they occupied the entire mental space on the pitch. They left Egypt with nowhere to run. Whether you're walking up to take a decisive penalty in front of millions, leading a high-pressure corporate restructuring, or stepping into an intimidating boardroom meeting, your brain functions on the exact same biological rules. It responds entirely to the blueprints you feed it. I want to leave you with a brief insight into a highly practical concept you can use to manage your own state transitions, the hypnotic tablet. Think of it as a mental shortcut to alter your internal reality. The power of your mind, of your own imagination, it should not be underestimated. Your mind can act as an incredible force for good and for bad. When you find yourself shifting from the fluid flow of your daily routine into a high-stakes analytical pressure point, where self-doubt threatens to creep in, you need to deliberately select the state your performance requires. Is it calm focus? Is it perhaps detached precision? In your quiet moments, maybe even over a morning coffee, you can practice visualizing a physical tablet that represents the exact neurological state you desire. With training, your mind can understand that when you mentally take this tablet before a pressure event, it triggers a profound physiological shift. Perhaps your shoulders drop, your breathing steadies, and the analytical noise vanishes. You're actively building a neural bridge, preparing your brain to handle the isolation of the moment long before you ever stand on the spot. The human mind is a biocomputer, and we have the absolute power to rewire our own performance. If you are listening to this and recognizing that your own analytical mindset is creating a bottleneck in your professional career, your sport, or your personal growth, I invite you to step out of the spectator stance. My clinical practice, Granting Progress, is entirely dedicated to taking these evidence-based clinical hypnotherapy strategies and applying them directly to your life to unlock your true potential. The mind is the ultimate competitive advantage, but only if you know how to program it. To explore how we can work together to map out a clear path forward, head over to my website at www.grantingprogress.com or email me via hello@grantingprogress.com. Let's see what we can achieve. If you enjoyed this pilot episode of Sports Rewired and you want to deep dive into the hidden psychological aspects of elite performance with me every week, please hit that subscribe button right now on your podcast app and take 30 seconds to leave me with a review. This is my very first episode. Your reviews and subscriptions are the lifeblood that helps the algorithm ultimately push this show to other listeners. Also, in the comments, if you can leave, or even in your reviews, let me know exactly which sporting collapse, maybe a legendary comeback, something from the past, something that's recently happened, a high pressure moment that you want me to psychologically dissect and rewire in the next episode. I'm Grant Wyeth, and this has been the pilot episode of Sport Rewired. See you next time.
Beyond the flash and scoreboard light, it's the engine that's burning inside.